Hi, this is Thomas Christensen, and this is my cultural self-study showcase for EDFD 461 at Winona State University. Okay, first on the agenda, mm, two artifacts that represent some things you talked about in the cultural self-study. So I have this hoodie here. Um, it's flipped, I guess, but it says Ireland. Um, yeah, my mom's side of the family is of Irish ancestry. My grandparents were not, I mean, they were a couple of generations removed, but they were still very much involved in, I mean, their heritage was important to them, so they were big, I don't know, very involved in like the Irish Catholic traditions and community. Um, so, yeah, my mom and her sisters went on a trip to Ireland recently. I've never been there. Um, It seems like there's not enough trees, honestly. I like really heavily forested areas. But it'd be cool to go. Um, but yeah, she brought me back that hoodie as a gift, so that was very nice. I appreciate it. It's very warm. Um, okay. Yeah, they're all very into being Irish. There'd be Irish flags. There would be like Irish folk music growing up, things like that. So it was kind of cool. Um, Second artifact. I got this guitar. Yeah, this is my electric guitar. It's in very poor condition, honestly. I went to get it repaired, and like the guitar guy was like, "I wouldn't put too much money into this, but whatever. I'm not that good with my stuff." But yeah, I like it a lot. Music was a big part of my culture growing up, and especially in my teens and 20s. It's a very emotional, human experience. Honestly, music is multicultural. I mean, there are definitely cultural variations, especially when you go back to more traditional folk music. There's a lot of crazy different stuff from all around the world that's cool to listen to. Um, Actually, there's a band called Dengue Fever. They're like a 60s psychedelic band. I'm kind of into that stuff, but they're also Cambodian American. So they sing in, it's like a weird mix of 60s psychedelic rock and like traditional Cambodian music sung in the Cambodian language. I'm not sure what they speak there. Khmer, Cambodian, something like that. But yeah, it's a big part of my culture and it's something I really enjoy. Um, okay, so regarding the assigned videos that we had to watch, let's see. What is something you want to research or learn more about culture after watching the videos? Um, I was kind of reminded by the Mashal Hijazi's TED Talk. She was the Pakistani American, Muslim American. Um, I would very much like to know more about. I was just thinking about Islam, I guess, and kind of how Islamic culture interacts with Western culture or like European culture. And I would love to learn more about the cultures of Central Asia because this is a place on the map that is pretty easily overlooked. Um, these countries, the stands, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Um, you could say East Turkestan as well, which is officially called Xinjiang in northwestern China. This is where the Uyghurs live. The Uyghurs are a Turkic people. Um, the Chinese have problems with them. This is a very well known human rights issue. But anyway, I think it would be, it's just very interesting because the stands were not East Turkestan, but the other ones were a part of the Russian Empire, and then they were a part of the Soviet Union. So they're very much within the Russian sphere of influence, but their culture is very different. These countries are majority Muslim. They are ethnically Turkic, so they're related to, the Turks in Turkey originally came from Central Asia. Except I think Tajikistan, Tajiks are not Turkic. I think they're more related to Iranians. But anyway, it sounds like Russia and the Soviet Union was a pretty multi-ethnic country, and there were a lot of different ethnicities around the periphery. I mean, it was an empire. Um, I just think it'd be interesting to learn about how that influenced their culture, how their traditions and their Turkic identity and their Muslim identity interacted with uh, Russian, European, Soviet, communist, atheist identity because they seem like very, very different cultures. And now that the Soviet Union is done, these countries are independent. They are still in the Russian sphere of influence. My understanding is that they're generally more or less satellite states of the Russian Federation, although this could change very quickly because, despite what they might have you believe, Russia is very much in decline long term. So, honestly, probably they will come to be under Chinese influence. So, I'd like to learn more about it. It's an interesting part of the world and something I know very little about. Okay, so what in the videos reinforced your thinking about culture? Um, I guess I would just say the culture is fluid, like the immigrant story of Pakistani Americans or the ethnically Chinese guy who is trying to adapt to new cultures and keep both of your identities, I guess. It's fluid in the sense that it really only takes a couple of generations to become very, very thoroughly assimilated into your new society, which is good in some ways and bad in others. And people adapt very quickly, especially when the younger generations. So you kind of have to make a point, make a deliberate effort to maintain um, the culture of your ancestors if that's what you want to do. But yeah, people are moving around all the time. People are very adaptable, very malleable. So that's something that I always kind of assumed about culture, and I think it's very true. Um, okay. So, two examples of intersectional stories and experiences that others have posted to social media. I got my examples from Reddit. Reddit's generally cool. There's some cool stuff on there. It can be a little toxic, so don't get sucked into that. I got into an argument once with somebody on Reddit. I do not usually get into arguments with people on the internet about the Mexican American War, which, in my opinion, was shameful and unjust, and also in Abraham Lincoln's opinion. But this person was from Texas. I got nothing against Texas. I went to Texas once. It was cool. I like Texas, but apparently Texans kind of whitewashed that war a little bit. But anyway, I don't normally engage in that kind of stuff, but this person was being very condescending about a very incorrect opinion. But anyway, Reddit. So this is a post under the subreddit. Is that what it's called? FHOA. HOAs are the worst. Um, by DK Taylor 32. And this user says, rant. Christmas decorations are good, Ramadan decorations get fined. In my neighborhood, a kind Muslim family got a fine from our HOA because they put up Ramadan decorations this last month. Every Christmas, the same family puts up tremendous Christmas decorations. They've never gotten a fine, neither has anyone else in the community. Is this religious discrimination? Is it possible to have bylaws that distinguish what month you can display decorations? Thanks. Yeah, I'd imagine that most HOAs are not explicitly discriminatory because you can get in a lot of trouble for that. Um, Also, I should disclaimer: these are random people on the internet, and they could be making this stuff up. I have no idea. I've not verified these things, but yeah, I can imagine that happening. My actually, we had neighbors when I was a little kid. We had some Hmong neighbors, and somebody like cut their Christmas lights. I don't. I'm assuming they were not Christian. They were probably. I mean, a lot of people celebrate Christmas in if they live in countries that celebrate Christmas, whether or not they are Christian. But I guess somebody had some sort of a problem with them. So yeah, very cruel thing to do. Um, but yeah, anyway, the intersectionality. I guess I would say being Muslim for one, and interacting with people or being yourself upper class or uh, I don't know. If you're in an HOA, you're probably not lower class. And in this country, racial minorities, or people that have historically or are typically discriminated against tend to be lower down on the socioeconomic ladder. This is not always the case. Sometimes when minorities start climbing up this ladder, or if they're generally more wealthy than the average majority population. Think about like the Jews in Europe who were forced into like the banking and law industries because at the time these were seen as very dishonorable professions, but they're profitable. People made money, and anti-Semites resented this very much. Or you could say the ethnic Chinese. I think the ethnic Chinese population in Singapore, Malaysia, they tend to be much wealthier. And if you're somebody from a background that tends to be discriminated against and you're living in a more upper class or middle class area, for some people that can have problems with that, unfortunately. Um, okay. And the next one, hmm. Oh yeah, this is a long one. I'll probably skip a couple of things. This is a subreddit living in Korea posted by FG111333 entitled Black and Gay in Korea. Okay. This post is not meant to talk badly about Korea, and honestly, many things mentioned could be applied to many countries. I'm just living in Korea at the moment, maybe others have similar experiences and questions. Some potential relevant background. I'm from the US. My parents and most of the older generation are not from the US. I studied abroad in Korea years ago and lived in other countries. I finished my education in the US, and most of my roommates while attending school in the US were Korean. I worked at a few engineering companies, fancy, after I graduated, and now I consider myself financially well off. I'm in my late 20s, and oh my god, I'm in my late 20s, and this guy's way more successful, whatever. Um, I'm in my late 20s and wanted to take risks and put myself out of my comfort zone. Now I'm a Hagwon teacher, teaching for 1.5 years now. I'm aware of what Hagwon teachers endure. Something Korean. I wanted to experience life in Korea without committing to graduate school or working at a Korean company. I can only maintain a basic conversation in Korea right now. Anyway, I understand Korea is the most homogeneous country in the world. Is that true? I wouldn't be. Japan is supposed to be very ethnically homogeneous as well. Um, and this is not my country. People can behave as they please, but the views people have of black, dark skinned African people are depressing. I'm aware that Korea had little exposure to the world until the 1950s, since my family fought in that war, Korean War. Therefore, and I'm sure many others, therefore, I and I'm sure many others understand why the views are what they are. Um, I'm just expressing how these views affect people like myself, and again, these issues are not exclusive to Korea, but they are notably pronounced. A couple of other things. He goes on to say discrimination. Most of the discrimination I experienced does not bother me since I experienced discrimination in the US, albeit in a different form. However, the pervasive atmosphere of feeling hated by other Koreans for simply existing and walking around in Korea as a foreigner is exhausting. The tension and visible irritation are noticeable. Um, I'm just here minding my business when people actually get to know me, they like me, and they're surprised by how kind I am. The person I'm perceived to be works as a major disadvantage against me. Um, and then he goes on to say a few other things, but I thought this was interesting because it's a very eclectic mix of things to be. Um, Living as a foreign immigrant in Korea from the United States, being a black man, being a gay man. Um, yeah, racism, homophobia is definitely not a uniquely American thing, especially, I don't want to overgeneralize. East Asia can have, their culture tends to be very conformist compared to Western cultures, which is good in some. You can say conformist, you can say communal or whatever. It's good in some ways, it's bad in others. There can be pretty rampant racism in areas like this, as with every other area, I suppose. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, being a very different kind of person in a very different kind of environment and getting some hate from that, sadly. Um, Okay, actually, I think I skipped something, which was two important personal household or community values or experiences that you discussed in the questionnaire. Yes, I would put these into two broad categories, one being Christian values, the other being American values. I would not identify as a Christian any longer, and I'm not an American jingoist, but I do think there's some things about these sets of values that contain a lot of wisdom, and some people get all weird about it and try to make it about something that I feel like it's a misinterpretation. But anyway, um, let's see here. Okay, so more like a Christian kind of values, um, at least as I was taught them when I was growing up. Um, Love, kindness, forgiveness. Um, don't judge people based on their appearance, whether that's the way they're dressed, whether that is the color of their skin, or whatever you want to judge people about. Don't do it. Um, do what you can to help the disadvantaged. We would always pray when I was a kid around the dinner table to help the sick, the suffering, and the poor. So, this is something I very, very much believe in. Okay. More American kind of values: individualism, pluralism, and tolerance is what I would say. Individualism: be who you are, think and act for yourself, be the master of your own destiny. Don't allow other people to control you or manipulate you or abuse you. Um, Likewise, you have the freedom to express yourself and to be yourself as you are, and you need to tolerate other people's right to do the same thing, even if their beliefs or their decisions are not your own. Just be chill about it. We can all get along. Just respect one another's differences and decisions. Um, and pluralism. Yeah, diversity can be a strength, not just diversity in the ethnic or racial sense, but in an intellectual sense. Um, Having a lot of different people with a lot of different ideas and opinions and values. Everybody has different strengths, and it's good to have a wide array of different kinds of people so we can maximize our national prowess in whatever area um, different people excel in. So yeah, I believe that is all for me. Thanks for listening.